a lot of unfinished pieces here. Some of them are almost ready to be finished off, and then some are in pretty rough shape too. So I'm going to pick something out here and see if I can complete it. Here's an old helmet here. It has all the pieces for it. So let's take a closer look at this one. Old Armouries. Yeah, I know which model this is. Yeah, I haven't worked on this for over 20 years for sure. I think this might be the third version I did. I think I made 3 of these. Well, this one isn't quite finished yet, but yeah, I'm just going to take the visor off. Okay, so yeah, this is welded 2 halves. I welded the collar on here. So, yeah, let's finish up this project here. I'll go sand it down, clean it up, and then we'll make, I think we're going to make a matching gorget for it too. Okay, so this is the project where I'm going to clean it up, get it back to normal, get it back to a kind of a regular steel shine to it. Now, you know, a lot of people think it's really difficult to take this rust off, but I'll show you what I've done here in the past. Is I've changed these out, my flap centers out, to a wire brush, and also this Scotch-Brite pad here. And what we're going to do is, yeah, we're just going to buff it up. Let's start with the cheek plate first. As you can see, it's looking better all the time. So yeah, I'm just going to keep working at it, bringing back the surface to a regular steel sort of look. All these parts I got to loosen to make sure it will function, but yeah, I'm going to get it back and we're going to restore this to a sellable helmet. Alright, we got these cleaned up enough to start to put it together again. now that I've given it a basic cleanup, I'm going to try to assemble these parts. Got the one cheek plate on here, and I'm going to temporarily bolt this outer one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you how I make patterns for these. This was made back in 96, and I'll show you the research that was available at the time. There wasn't a lot of pictures or or measurements of these things, so it's like I had to kind of just figure it out. And so I'm going to sort of take you through that process, thinking process back then. Try to understand how these things work here, and then let's temporarily put this visor on it. This hasn't been together for a long time, so I'm kind of curious to see how everything sort of fits. Pattern for something, so no matter what, it's going to take at least 3 tries to figure it out, is how I would look at it. So I would always do like different prototypes or different versions. So then I would call it like version 1, version 2. And sometimes if they're decent enough, I could kind of fix them up and sell them, especially as just a piece of like an old suit of armor that was missing a helmet or something. So some collector would just buy it for that reason. So yeah, as you can see, we're gonna have to make it so this goes over top of that. And it's got like a keyhole pin, and then this will come down over top of it. So that's what we're gonna be shooting for. And then while we're at it, I'm gonna make the missing 6-piece gorget, is a suspended gorget. So I want to make sure that we make the collar part spin inside here. It's also missing a rondelle, so we've got to make that. So yeah, let's I'll get some old drawings and sketches out how I came up with the concept of making a pattern for this, and what I was thinking at the time. Before there was the internet, the only way you could try to study armor was you would look for books with pictures in it and maybe some descriptions. So you'd first go to the library, and there's not a lot of books pretty much anywhere at that time. So you have to go to some old bookstores or antique bookstores, and I came across this one. This one was printed in 1962. It's a Wallace collection, and a collector at the time knew that I made armor and asked if I could make a copy of this suit here. And there's not a lot to go from other than I'd have to go there to take more pictures or drawings or something. But yeah, so this would be the suit of armor he was interested in me making, so this is what kind of started it off. And then, again, there's not a lot of pictures of the helmet, just that the front was kind of front on, that was about it. So then I came across another old book from the Wallace collection. This one was printed in 1924. It's even older. Yeah, I got it from an antique book dealer. Here's a Wallace collection guide back in 1938. Tells you a bit about it. But anyway, in this book was a really good picture of that helmet. There was a profile picture of it. Yeah, right here. So this is what I was was able to understand what the side looked like, profile of it. So from here, yeah, I could sort of start figuring it out more. So I did some prototyping, and I made just kind of a real basic pattern for the skull part. And then, again, it was like, I would look for old books, like something like this was in the library, or I bought this from an old used bookstore. This is kind of the information we had at the time. And then around 1996, this book came out. So I bought this right away. It was had a lot of great pictures in it and good information, so I've studied it. And the interesting thing about this was at the very back, there was a kind of an expanded version of that very helmet that this customer wanted me to make. So from here, it's like, well, I can see how it was hinged, what it looked like with the visor up and everything. So this got me pretty excited. So I started to make my first version back in '96, and so from there. But whenever I had books like this, I would, go in my workshop, but I wouldn't want to take the book with me, so I would photocopy it. So here's like a version of it from an old book. It was interesting because there was a couple different versions of this. Here's kind of a drawing of it, and it had all the parts labeled. And here was another picture of it from a different angle. I thought, okay. And then there's another old version of it. And then I photocopied that profile of it. So from there, and then this. So I would take these to my workshop, and here shows you the inside of the gorget, the 6-piece. It's kind of articulated in kind of a suspended version of that. So it's like I could see what it looked like on the inside. This was a quantum leap for me at the time. So it's like with all this information, I came up with my first draft of the helmet. I still have copies of this. This is for the 1996 version of it. And this is what I came up with at the time. Is the helmet top I would make out of 2 halves. So this is like size small. This would be like a regular size. So I would hammer out some versions of that, the actual helmet top itself, and then sort of go from there. And I went to different sizes of cheek plates. Again, this was kind of hit and miss at the time. So, and then I would do this out of 1 piece and fold it over, and I would weld it. So that it's basically welded like that, and that's the version you see here. So, I was still basically doing MIG welding and came up with this version here. Then I kind of improved on it. Like I said, it takes me at least 3 tries. There's a little bit of an updated version. So I'm pretty sure, I think I've made at least 3 of these. And the angle of this had to be improved. I kind of just did different concepts, sort of experimenting with different versions of it. The idea for the basically it's the vent tail and the visor connected as 1 piece. So from here, this is what you see right here. It's probably a version that I made in 1997. So I'm gonna take it from here and try to improve on it. And I'll probably do a locking pin here, a push button lock. We'll see. We'll just see what we can do with it. But I mean, I might as well finish it and either have it on display or try to sell it. I'm going to start drawing out the patterns here for the 6-piece suspended gorget. So I'm going to start with, try to use up some old pieces of 20 gauge here. This is the neck part, so I'm going to see how many pieces I can get out of these scraps here. Okay. I haven't made this version in many years, so I'm hoping this turns out good. I'll just mark it number 5. This is the front. started to do is try to tie that old helmet together, like tried to make them match by giving him a similar design cut out of the steel. So yeah, it's going to be, this pattern can be echoed on the gorget as well as the visor. This particular design. Yeah, so I'm going to draw the design there where this old design used to be. All these other little holes, these are marks for the construction rivets, mostly. Where the center is. It's right there. There's the center. Okay, here's where I do the basic rough cuts. And before I clean them out, before I sand them. So I kind of want to rough these out, and I'll probably end up just filing or grinding them for more detail later. I just kind of want to get it started. Now I've kind of exaggerated this design because I want it to be more noticeable, because on the original it's kind of subtle, whereas I'm trying to accentuate that design and then echo it onto the helmet so it looks like they match better. It matches them up better. There. Alright. The rough cut's done. I'm going to go drill the holes out, hammer them flat, and then start sanding them down. all the parts are sanded and ready to be put together. So what we're going to start off with is the collar piece. Yeah, it'll be hinged together. So we're going to roll it and put a rod in it to make it so it's a really thick roll for the collar. We want to make sure this is as deep as we can go on this. So hopefully as straight as we can go too. This should be pretty easy because it's just a straight line here. We're going to just kick it over the edge of the anvil. On that army that we've gone. Okay, then we're going to put this thick rod in here and roll it over it. So as you can see, it's really quite thick. That's what we're shooting for. Yep. Okay, yeah, we're going to end up bending this out a little bit more too as we form it. So now we've got to basically bend it around a pipe to make sure this has got to be a perfectly round circle. Okay, we're going to move on to that. We're going to bend these over the pipe. Rubber mallet here. Although I think it's going to need a little more convincing than normal. So we're going to move on to measuring it and making sure it's the right length. That'll be the next thing to do. So what I'm trying to do here is make sure that this is not only perfectly round, but it's got to fit inside the neck of this helmet here. So that it spins loosely. So this is going to be very difficult. So what I've done is I bent this down so it's got a ledge on it. I'm going to bolt this together temporarily like this. And then done some measurements, and this is about about a medium-sized neck. It's about 16 inches around here. Kind of just measured here, and yeah, I realize we're off by about a ½ inch, and that's folding it over like this. So we realize we've got to cut some away. Now this works to our advantage because the hinge is kind of offset here. So I'll show you how that works. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off just of one side only, so that the hinge will go inside there. But we have to make sure we're cutting off enough and not too much. So that's kind of where we're at now. So what I did was I cut it off like it's like an L. Cut a section right off, and then these have to be on a 45-degree angle, because the way this hinges, it goes like this and closes. So we have to take measurements once it's kind of together, and we're going to be hinging it here. So here's where I have to figure out how much to cut away for the hinge pin here. And yeah, it looks like probably like that much. So it's there. Looks like it'll be about right. Then we can sort of we can start fixing the other side up to match. So that's the stage we're at right now. So I've got to cut this off. Then I'll rivet this hinge on. So I've got this far. I attached the hinge onto the one side, and then I'm going to temporarily bolt it together. So what I've been doing is hammering them to make sure they're completely round. It's got to be it's never going to be perfect, but as close as you can to kind of a perfect circle. So, yeah, there's a lot of work in this. It's really finicky, and that can't show a lot of the times, like all the really, small little tweaks I do here and there to make it work. So I'm going to temporarily screw this together too. So as you can see, I'm just I was working it over the round bar to try to make sure it was as perfect of a circle as I can get. And then I had to adjust the circle on the helmet as well. So now this is going to be probably a display piece. I really don't see it being. I mean, you can wear it, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm just mostly just completing it so I can sell it as a, just having a display piece. It's almost like for a little museum, like your own personal museum, which that's what I do as well. Okay, so this is tricky. There it is. I still have to decide if I'm going to use the key to close this front part. I might just do a hook and eye pin, because I'm not trying to make an exact replica of the Vladislas Armouries. But so yeah, I've had to hammer the outside in as well. Yeah. here, I'm going to start adding the other parts to the gorget on, and then for this part here, I still have to do the ear holes. I'm going to do a push button release for the visor. I got to make the rondelle, the missing rondelle. Just a lot of little parts.